This is my movie of my trip on the Lehigh Valley Railroad from Luzerne to Noxen in 1959. Now, these first pictures were taken at the Onawanda Girl Scout camp just south of Tunkhannock along the river. And this is the main line of the Lehigh Valley. And I thought an appropriate introduction. Now, the next shots were taken in Luzerne as we met the crew of the train and were properly introduced. This is the last public timetable of the Lehigh Valley that was published. Now, there were 4 of we visitors on this trip. Harry Carson was the manager of the Acme warehouse in 44 at the time. And he is the older gentleman here, and when he said he wanted to ride the train, the railroad said, "How soon?" He took his son, Larry, and another man who worked for him, John Kasner, and myself. Now, John and I were sort of railroad buffs, and we modeled and everything like that. And but we have the trip here coming up. Now, this is the trestle in Trucksville, and it almost goes over Pizza Perfect, which is today on Carverton Road. And here we are crossing the Trucksville. I'm out on the footboards, the camera one hand and holding on for dear life with the other. That was Clyde's birth Exxon station. No, I'm not sure it was. Well, anyway, here, no, I know it was not. Here we are in Shavertown, and we are going to put one boxcar, I assume lumber or something like that, into the proper track right here for the lumber company. Yeah, there's a track under all those weeds and things there. You can see it wasn't used too much. There we are running back on the locomotive to go on further. When we climbed aboard the engine, the engineer said, "You can't see anything here. Go out on the footboards." This is the old Lanier plant, which is now the Offset Paperback or its successor company. Now we are coming in slowly into Dallas. Now this is where there's quite a shopping center here, and now we're coming into Dallas where the post office now stands. The further building was the passenger station, and first was the freight station. This is crossing Church Street. We're moving on now. This is probably the rear of the Commonwealth Telephone Building. There was a passing siding there, and I couldn't see what they were doing. We evidently left some cars there because we had fewer cars later on. So we shifted cars there and then got on our way again. That is John Kasner. That is the engineer. The conductor is the gentleman in a white shirt you see now and then. And I'm sorry, but I did not get the names of either one of the other members of the crew. Now we're passing over the hills north of Dallas on our way to Harvey's Lake. As you can see, I wondered today that they let us walk all over the engine like this when it was moving, but they said it was okay. Now here we are coming into Alderson and the little Methodist church there. Now these next couple of shots were taken the following year, but I spliced them in the tape to where they belong geographically as we proceeded along this trip. Now we're riding along the lake. That is the Harvey's Lake Yacht Club over there. And this gentleman parked his car a little too close to the track, and we had to wait until he moved it. Now this is Harry Carson. As you know, the track went right alongside the lake and through the amusement park, entrance down before it left. I took several pictures here. That's of people I knew in that house. That's the only reason I took it. Other than it has no other significance to the trip anyway. Now here we are, and did you ever see a train go right under the roller coaster before? Well, it sure did. Now these kids used to run and jump on the train here and ride to Noxen. The crew let them do it, and I guess they rode back the same way. Of course, the amusement park was in full operation at this time, and now here we are going from Harvey's Lake into Noxen. That's when the crew said, "You've got to come in the cab. The track hasn't been maintained as well as the previous track. It's a little rough, and we want to have a safe trip." All right, here we are arriving close to Noxen and crossing the creek there. And here we are switching in front of the Noxen station. The man in the white shirt is the conductor. He's the, of course, the boss of the train. Now, this is the end of the track. This track extended, as you know, many years ago, all the way on through and eventually joined the main line at Towanda. It was built for lumber and ice and even possibly coal. There was a little bit of low-grade coal up there, but it never really panned out much. So there they spotted the boxcar at the station, and now the engine will run around the train and tow it back the other way. Okay, everything's set and the train's ready to move, and I said the kids are going to jump back on the caboose. That is the end of my actual trip, and I put these things together in the next year or two. The tannery was closed in 1961, so there wasn't too much traffic. Here is a one-car train, a locomotive, a boxcar, and a caboose. That's sort of rare. This was a Sunday, probably the following year. This was the headline in the Wilkes-Barre papers. That was the official date that it was abandoned, and they did not accept any more traffic for it. Now these are shots of the station in Dallas, the passenger station, and to the right, the freight station. These happen to be my children who accompanied me down there one Sunday afternoon so I could take a few pictures. That is Ann, and the other gal is Linda. Now here we are back. I went to the Methodist Church in Trucksville there and took a picture. There was a siding just north of the trestle. I don't know what it was used for. Now they did rebuild the trestle once during its span and put a whole new top on it. Maybe that's where they spotted the materials. This never did pan out either. The tourist line. This is Harry Ritz. He lived in Dallas on Church Street, and he and his father both spent all their lives working for the Lehigh Valley. And here they are tearing up the track. I was quite busy at my job in those days, so never got out here when they were working. I came out on a Sunday, I guess, and took some of these. And the trestle was demounted, and on the left you see the corner of the building that is now Pizza Perfect. And those steps and foundations are still in the mountainside. You can find them if you look. Maybe not in the summer, but probably in the winter when the weeds aren't so tall. Well, that was my trip, and I thank you for the interest in watching it. These are a few shots around the town of Noxen, taken primarily in the 1980s. All right, this is Dutch Row. These are the company houses from the tannery. I don't remember how many there are. There's either 6 or 8, I believe. This was the old railroad station, and it's when it was falling apart before it was restored. And these are a few shots taken when I was around there at that time. Now this gentleman here was a retired veterinarian from over near Honesdale, I believe, and I forget his name. But he loved horses, had these couple of horses, and I went up to take his picture one snowy morning, and he said, hop on, so I did, and took a couple shots. Now this is near where the Crispos lived, by the Iron Bridge. That's one with the overhead steel down by the creek. This was my building, which was burned down in 1994, I guess. Maybe this shot will remind you where it was located. Well, we have a lot of nature lovers and hunters. I took this behind a house in Noxen in the wintertime there during hunting season. Here are a few shots of the tannery. That's sort of self-explanatory. Closed in 1961, was demolished in 1982. Now these shots here were taken on my lunch hour, and I didn't spend much time with them, and I all shot from the road. That was the superintendent's house on the left. There is a close-up of it, and as you can see, the tannery was quite an extensive operation. Many of the buildings were 2 stories high. There was a huge smokestack it shows a little later. In fact, there was a railroad track around all these buildings, and they had their own locomotive at one time. I wished I could have taken a picture when the stack came down, but they were afraid somebody would be hurt, I guess, and never publicized the date or the hour, so I didn't get it. These are some of these buildings are wooden here. Now this is in the spring, as you can see, there's plenty of foliage on the trees, and this is when they were either just starting or just before they started. And here are some shots in the middle of the summer as they were dismantling it. It took a long time. It was a huge complex, really. Now this shot, I believe, was taken near the church. And these shots here, after the fade-in, were taken very near the end, when there was not much left. And these are really all the shots I ever took down there. Those houses way up there at the hill, I believe, are, I imagine that's Stowe, but I'm sort of guessing there. Now, there were some remains of the old sawmill dam in the creek underneath the bridge. This is the bridge and the road that ran up Sorber Mountain. Of course, the dam wasn't very high. All they had to do was have enough water to float logs. And then we went with young Jim Barbacci and the other gentleman there. Is Bill Bradbury from Shavertown, or Trucksville, I guess. And this is driving on the old railroad roadbed up toward the springs where they harvested the ice. We went up there early in the spring, so we wouldn't be stepping on any snakes. They might be out sunning themselves. This was the dam at the time. We stepped across, waiting on the stone, pretty much to look at some of the things on the other side. And that's really about all I have from Noxen. This is a shot of my place.